Venezuela cannot be trusted. In fact, it was recently reported that they got their proxy Hamas to invade Israel on October the 7th to derail the normalization talks between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Let me go to the 1961 Foreign Assistance Act. It was initially created to counter the rise of the Soviet Union. Today, I believe it should be used to counter the influence of Communist China around the globe. And that's a core mission I know you support, as do I. When I was chairman of this committee, I put holds on the programs the current chairman's talking about, that being the drag shows in Ecuador to grants to advance atheism in Nepal. These are not in the interest of the United States or our national security interests. So I think we need to return these agencies and programs to their core mission. I believe that you're trying to do that by bringing them under your supervision at the State Department. It's not a new idea. Madeleine Albright tried to do that many years ago. And I do think under your supervision that we'll have transparency and accountability with the foreign assistance programs. We are engaged in a reauthorization of the State Department. Sir, can you tell me how this would assist you with respect to reorganization of these important agencies under your department?
Well, I think the key to reorganization, and by the way, we never did it in all the years that I was in the Senate either. It never happened. It needs to happen. We want it to happen. As you know, in our reorganization, we didn't touch any of the statutory offices because we can't. But there's two advantages to it, or three advantages. The first is it becomes permanent. We can create an organizational structure that becomes enduring, especially if it's one that we believe in. Second, I think that it will help us with the input and ideas. Look, we notified, it wasn't intended, we provided the initial preliminary indication to Congress. We've been taking input, including from many on the minority. And some of those are going to be reflected when we put out our final approach that we want to take. But ultimately, we would love to work with the committee to find ways to improve on the streamlining. By the way, we're also taking input from inside our building. Some of the ideas in our reorg, many of the ideas from our reorg, came from inside the State Department, from career officials, including some that are still providing input for us in sort of how to structure it. But I think the advantage of doing it statutorily is that it becomes enduring and permanent and provides certainty in the days to come. Otherwise, it can change over time and continue to bloat and expand to levels that it got to. It was an unreadable org chart. The org chart that I showed you, the initial org chart that I inherited was just the top line. Within each one of those boxes, there were multiple boxes, some of them duplicative, redundant. Many cases, no one could even tell us what they were doing because it's easy to grow. It's much harder to reorganize and to streamline activity, and that's what we want to do.
Well, it's a very noble effort. With my 1 minute remaining, I authorized the Remain in Mexico program.